Hi everyone and welcome to Bitcoin's birth chart. So if you are already familiar with Western astrology or Bitcoin's chart in general, this may be a little bit different because it is based off the visible sky. So in the description below there's links which explain like why I choose the sky, etc, etc. But in short, mainstream astrology is slightly ahead of time, and ultimately they're meant to be interpreting the sky, like that's where it's all happening. So that's where I choose to look. So I do have links down below which explain further as to like why I choose the sky. But before we get into Bitcoin's birth chart, so we can see the energy it's entered our realm and what it's ready to do, before we get into that, I do have YouTube and I go over the energy update every week based on the visible sky, and I also link astrology based off the visible sky to crypto as well, so feel free to check that out. And in addition to that, on Etsy I do have a calendar that is in alignment with the visible sky, that has all of the transits in there, the full moons, new moons, no moons, the retrogrades, the station direct, all the transits and all of that stuff. And because it is based off the visible sky, it isn't just the 12 circle zodiac wheel nor the 13. There are extra constellations such as Cetus, etc. So feel free to grab that if you'd like. Catch me on YouTube if you would like. But let's start getting into Bitcoin's chart. So why astrology at first? And also I do offer readings as well, which is currently going for 50% off until the end of summer 2023, which is similar in nature to how I am doing Bitcoins right now. And I've already done one for XRP. So I do offer those readings, but they are kept private. So if you would like a reading on your birth chart, then, reach out to me. Or if not, you can learn from this anyway. So the app that I will be using is an astronomy app called, let me show you, Stellarium. And it looks like this. You can just download it, It's pretty cool. But the reason why I am recording this, doing it this way, is very different to the standard circle chart, is because I'm ready for people to bring their energy back to themselves, to know things themselves, and not to just have to rely on anyone online, any influencers, and rely on yourself. So that's why I'm recording it, so people can pick things up, and then this is how we all learn and grow together anyway. So before we move further into the reading, before we begin the reading, I do want to share my perspective on astrology, because I see it as a tool, and that is it. And there's very various astrology tools. So even if you still use Western astrology, that can still be used as a tool, even though it's slightly ahead of time and it isn't exactly nature. But astrology in itself is just a tool. So don't let it control your life or rule your life. If it gets to that point, throw the tool away, because you are always greater than the tool. So when it comes to astrology, I see astrology as the science of light, and I see us as light fractalized. And in essence, our light, which is us, becomes fractalized within the different star constellations, and this is where our energy resides. So ultimately, we are the light. You have access to any energy you choose. However, you as light have kind of fractalized, and where your energy kind of is, that's kind of like the areas you choose to put more attention to in this lifetime, in the now moment. So that's how I kind of see it. I see the sky as ultimately our ultimate black mirror, which is a reflection and also a projection of who we are. And in essence, it's like a whole symbiotic feedback loop relationship, just back and forth with data. It's a reflection. So that's how I see astrology from my perspective. So in essence, when it comes to Bitcoin now, Bitcoin entered this reality at a certain point in time. Its light then became fractalized in certain areas, and the way it acts is developing the areas it's fractalized in. Okay, so obviously This is something made up, Bitcoin, so it's just going to act according to its programming. We will act according to our programming too, essentially. However, we also have that conscious thought to access any energy we choose, whereas Bitcoin is just going to go through it. So now we can start. Let me share with you what we will be looking to in this reading. Do bear with me as well. Like, I am recording this in one go with no breaks. I won't be editing it. It's being uploaded just as it is. So do bear with me. So we are looking at two charts here, but I am only going to put in one, because if you know, Bitcoin's thought was like October 2028, but then it was first minded on the 3rd of January. So keep in mind, we are using them two dates. It will be time stamped, so you can go back to each luminary placement if you choose to. And of course, last part before I share with you what we're going to look into, I call them luminaries because they illuminate our sky, not so much planets, but it's your realm, your perspective. It's up to you. So we will be looking into, during this birth chart reading, the lens which your ego operates through, being your sun sign, and you can clearly see where that is for Bitcoin right now. Your internal values, being your moon sign. Your material values, being your Venus placement. Your way of thinking and how you exchange your energy, being your Mercury placement. Your drive and your passion, being your Mars placement. The area which you will naturally expand in, being your Jupiter placement. Where you have the most discipline and structure, being your Saturn placement. The area where you can bring about the most change in, being your Uranus placement. The area that you have the most depth in and how you could achieve your goals, being your Neptune placement. The area that you can transform yourself into your ideal version of you, being your Pluto placement. Your most suppressed area, which is also your strength, being your Black Moon Lilith. The area where you're coded to have the most fortune and prosperity in this lifetime, being your Fortuna. Your wounded aspect, which again is your greatest strength. And last but not least, your rising sign. So as I said, we are doing two birth dates for Bitcoin. So, but we're doing it. I need you to breathe with me for this, okay? I need you to breathe with me. So take a snapshot of this. This is just how I wrote it down quickly. It's my handwriting. It's not in a circle. But we've got the 3rd of January 2009. These are all the placements, and I'll explain what they are. And then, of course, no, sorry, this is the 31st of October and then 3rd of January. So screenshot that. What we will be doing is looking at so for example, we'll look at the sun. We're only going to be focusing on the 3rd of July date, and I'll start with these luminary placements and what it could mean, and then we're going to just have a sneak peek at like the back end, because it's kind of like this was the thought and this is the reality. So it's kind of like there's some aspects there. So if I feel called to bring it up, I'll bring it up. Well, I will anyway. I will. So let the reading begin. The sun. So the sun is our ego. It represents the lens which we operate through. This piece of technology, this egoic technology, is the technology used that attracts experiences to you, and it's how you just naturally shine. So you naturally shine and attract these experiences to you, and this is how we experience our physical reality through our ego technology. So the sun, as you can see, is sat in Sagittarius. So what is this telling me? Bitcoin naturally is attracting these Sagittarius qualities to it. It's just naturally about that. So Sagittarius, being a centurion, it is very mystical, magical in nature. It is philosophical in nature. It represents travel. It represents direct focus and a direct vision, so to say. You know the direction you're ready to go, as he's got his bow and arrow. Your focus, you're clear. It covers higher perspectives, learning, higher learning, and things philosophical in that nature. So that is Sagittarius. Now Bitcoin, its sun operates through that lens of learning. So this is how I see it. In order to know Bitcoin, or to understand Bitcoin, learning an alternate perspective is needed. You're going to need to learn how to utilize it. Not only that, but because it is the ego of because it is the ego, it's naturally shining in this way. So as I said, Sagittarius it's like showing you a different direction. It's like, yep, that's the way we're going. So Bitcoin naturally shines in a way which is telling you this is the direction that we're going in. Does this resonate? Because to me it kind of does, because Bitcoin is showing us a whole new way. Now we're moving back to, if you just take a look at the screenshot, its sun sign for its October date. Now I'm not changing the date and time on this, is going to take too long, but what it was Virgo, but on the cusp of Libra. So I'm kind of seeing Virgo and Libra energy there as how it kind of operates and shines. So slow decision wise, because Virgo is very analytical, looks at all the details and all of that stuff. So it can be a little bit slow to make decisions because it wants to make sure it's doing the right thing. So in terms of probably how people interact with it, people can be just moving a little bit slow. Like these energies are the underlying ones for its first thought inception, but it is on the cusp of Libra. So again, it's like do forgive me, I did have to kind of pause there, so I'll just put all of it together. But anyway, Libra energy is there. So I'm seeing Libra, I see from my perspective as like this amazing manifester, because it takes from like the ether, from this air headspace. Watch like the mouse on the camera, on the screen. So from like the ether, from the mind, and it brings it out into the scale of justice. So that's kind of like what Libra does. I see it as quite a strong manifester, because in essence it's whatever you see in your mind, you bring that out into the scales of justice, and then it gets weighed, like, and that's how you basically live out your reality. Excuse me, after you've brought what's in your head and then you bring it out. So I'm kind of seeing like the underlyingness of how Bitcoin operates, how it naturally shines is in Sagittarius. That's just what it's doing right now. Yet it also has this underlying kind of like Virgo and Libra energy, because it is at the cusp of both of them. So I feel it's not so much, or it's more like the ending of this Virgo energy. So it's not deep in like the decision making and to the point you don't really know, or you're moving a bit too slow. But it's more along the lines of now you've decided, and now it's about making it happen. So you've got this idea, what you've decided in your head, from the Virgo energy. And then the Libra energy attracts experiences to kind of make that happen. The thought in its head and making that balance like a reality. Yeah, that kind of links to me. It does make sense. So it's like that Sagittarius energy. It's showing that direction, whilst it has the underlying energies of deciding, making sure that is the right way, and then creation from the ether into the plane of existence. So that's what I'm seeing for its sun. So moon now. Its moon sign is in Pisces. That is its moon. The moon is known as the mover of our emotions. It's the one that gets our emotions moving, which is the energy in motion, which then allows the ego to use this energy, which attracts experiences to us. Okay, so the moon moves our emotions, it gets our energy moving, gets our emotions moving, our thoughts, not so much our thoughts, but our feelings, our intuition, our dreams, our creativity, what we feel, how we feel about things. Did it make you happy or sad? That is the moon. Angry, infatuated, or infuriated, like which one? How is your energy moving? So it is in Pisces. So Bitcoin's energy naturally moves, what I'm seeing, in a way that is more hidden and 12th house in nature. So from that alone, I've seen it can be quite misunderstood, because the things that get the energy of Bitcoin moving is quite hidden to the general people. Yeah, it's just quite hidden. Pisces being also the first and the last zodiac sign, or the last and the first, it's the ending and the beginning of the cycle, Pisces. So it has that little bit of everything in there. Yeah, so basically it's like Bitcoin's emotions are just being moved more, in a way. Like, obviously, if this was a whole human, I'd throw in just like creativity in there, but don't get me twisted. You could, it's also how people like interact with Bitcoin, so people who are generally more creative will probably just sync with Bitcoin a bit more, because that is the moon, how Bitcoin's emotions kind of get moving. Pisces is creative in nature, because Pisces, it has a little bit of all, so it kind of knows it all type of thing, has all the answers, has all the data there, and it's about expressing that. So oftentimes Pisces express through any form of creating, poems, singing, dance, is that type of stuff that gets it moving. So when it comes to creative ideas around Bitcoin, a creative idea may pick up with Bitcoin. Yeah, but ultimately I will say, because its moon is there, it's just more misunderstood. And that's how I'll put it. It can just be a bit more easily misunderstood, because it has a little bit of everything. So it's like it has that wisdom there, yet many people don't yet know what it's talking about. So its moon on its inception in 2028 would have been in Scorpio. So again, this is kind of telling me water again, both in water signs. Scorpio to me is the luminary that you have to recognize what may be seen as vulnerable to you is actually your strength, and you use that as your strength. So and it's like death and rebirth, through shedding off that old where you thought it wasn't your strength and using it as your strength. Support and resistance. If you're watching this, you should know about support and resistance. But that's kind of what I'm seeing there, with the moon being in Scorpio on its inception. But when it first was mined, the moon was in Pisces. So again, I feel it's about Bitcoin. Its sun is in Sag. It knows that direction it's ready to go in. And it's like underlyingly, it knows what it's about, even though it's very misunderstood. Like Bitcoin, it's just like the king, it's just going, trotting along, and that's it. Doesn't matter if it's misunderstood. It kind of knows what people had labeled as vulnerable, just like, oh, you can't trust Bitcoin, blah, 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 is ultimately its strength. It's decentralized strength. You see what I'm saying? With blockchain technology. So there's Pegasus. Moving now on to Mercury. So Mercury, as you can see, is kind of like just entering Capricorn. So it's kind of like 0 point. It's definitely, I'm picking up zero vibes, zero energy here. which is important because the 0 point, essentially, if you think of a sine wave, you've got the 0 point and then you've got spectrum. So in essence, it's just when people or things have placements at the 0 point, they're not too on the positive, they're not too on the negative. That's not good, that's not bad, it just is. But rather they are tapping in from the neutrality, from 0 point, from source, from God, whatever you want to label it. So what I'm seeing is the way Bitcoin likes to exchange its energy is coming from source code. It's literally coming from source, 0 point energy, how Bitcoin exchanges its energy, and it's in the Capricorn constellation. So going back to just Mercury in the sky, there's 4 retrogrades in a year because Mercury dances back and forth around the sun. So that is why it's known as God's messenger, and it is focused on the energetic exchange. So this is any form of energy exchange. This can be from your mind, your thoughts. This is energy exchange between your body. So even communication, if like your foot is hurting, you know, there's communication happening there for you to know this. This is also monetary exchange. Mercury covers that anyway. So this is any form of energetic exchange, and it is sat at 0 point of Capricorn. So Capricorn is very sturdy and stable in nature. It is known as like that business networker, 10th house worker type vibes. And yeah, it's like I see it as the perfect balance of reality because it has the fish and the horse. So that's representing earth and sea, spirit and matter, essentially, to allow existence to exist. So it's about stable, it's about that perfect blend of energies to create solid and stable foundations. So the way Bitcoin exchanges its energy with others brings about solid foundations. Do you resonate with that or no? And it's coming from 0 point energy. So it's coming from source in how it potentially can give this energetic exchange to offer this foundation. And that's what I'm seeing there. It does. It is in Virgo on the 31st of October. That's where its Mercury would have been. So again, the way it exchanges its energy, or people even who exchange its energy with Bitcoin, being in Virgo, as I mentioned Virgo before, it can be a little bit slow. So Bitcoin, we do know its transactions is just slow anyway. So that matches up with Virgo and Capricorn, because Capricorn can be slow in nature. It is the goat, it sets this foundation, but it moves slow. So Bitcoin, you know, sometimes it can take up to 24 hours to receive it if the blockchain is a bit rammed, sometimes an hour, sometimes less. So how it literally exchanges itself is slow naturally, because you've got the Virgo analytical nature and obviously the Capricorn nature. But even though it's moving slow, it is coming from 0 point and it is exchanging its energy in a way that will naturally set up solid foundations. So obviously Bitcoin's leading the way, isn't it? It is leading the way. So moving now on to Venus. So Venus is known as our material values. It represents the material realm. It's known as our 5 senses. It's basically what we value in the material because we would like to experience it. That is Venus. So it covers all our senses, what we're about, money, love, all of that stuff. And as you can see, it's sat in Aquarius. So how I'm seeing Bitcoin experiencing its reality whilst being here in the, you know, material reality is that of a giving nature. Because Aquarius is known as the water bearer. It just pours, it gives. It is an air sign. So the way it's like, even though there's slowness, it's still obviously there's air here, so it's still bringing quickerness to it, because blockchain technology is obviously quicker, even though it can take up to 24 hours. I don't know what's going on there. They just need to move to XRP ledger, but um yeah, I see it quick in terms of the Aquarius, the air. We're moving into like quicker times, etc. And that's how Bitcoin is experienced in reality, because we are moving into these quicker experiences. Um, yeah, and that is giving in nature. So basically, what Bitcoin is even ready to offer up in our material reality is going to be something where it can give quite a lot, because yeah, it's just right there ready to give. It wants to give so it can be experienced in the reality, or how it likes to experience its reality is giving a lot. It's being innovative, it's being based around them unique ideas. Um, it's about coming with electric change, because Aquarius is fueled by Uranus, which has plutonic components to it, which can bring about like death and rebirth, like knocking it down, bring about sudden change. So that essentially is how Bitcoin likes to interact with its material reality. It likes to give, bring about sudden change, likes to have new unique ideas where it ultimately can help people. And on the back end, it's Venus. Go back to the screenshot at the beginning of the video. It's Venus is in Ophiuchus. So back in 2028, it was in Ophiuchus. So what is this telling me? It wants to naturally give, and underlying this giving is based around transmutation and transforming and healing, because Ophiuchus is known as the serpent bearer. Where is Ophiuchus? Where you is? Here he is known as the serpent bearer, is known as the healer. The snake represents healing. And it's literally linked to magnesium within the body, which holds, maintains, restores, and regenerates energy. So quite literally, on a cellular level, this star constellation sparks transformation within our bodies. So the way, like underlyingly, because this is where Venus was in 2008, October 31st, I'm seeing how it would like to also interact with the material reality, brings about transformation and healing to those who interact with it. Again, that makes sense along with the I love how it syncs together. And I also have to admit, like, I watched Logan's decode your reality, how he decoded Barbie, and he said many times, and not only that, but Waters Above, like the way how they decode and how they sync it together, it's just like, wow, it's amazing how, like, there's no coincidences. It's code playing itself. And even just seeing the astrology, how just when it was thought of back in 2008, compared to obviously when it was properly launched and mined, how it still synchronizes together. And that's how it's just like, whoa, we are just living out code. Just let it play out, let it exist. But anyway, that's what I'm seeing there. Because of course, how it wants to give in nature will transform a lot of people's lives, and already has, hasn't it? It already has. So if you're kind of mind blown, or just like, wow, it links like that, do give me a thumbs up if it resonates at all, as we move on to Mars. So Mars represents our drive and our passion. It is that flame, that the fire that gets us warm for us to move about in the material reality. So that is Mars. It's what what gets us up and moving. So Mars, it's in Sagittarius. So the thing that is a passion for Bitcoin, a drive, is literally how it naturally shines. It's showing you a different direction where you have to learn about it, and it's taking you in that direction. So this is its drive and its passion. It's this whole Sagittarius energy. This is what encouraged Bitcoin to keep moving, and it is about taking us in a new direction. Is Bitcoin doing that, or is it not? Let me know. And its underlying Mars placement is in Libra. So again, I said Libra is that powerful manifester with the airhead from the ethereal, bringing it out into the plane of existence. After it's come from the mind out into the plane of existence, it's weighed on the justice scales. How is it going to be? You know, is it nice blend of energies, or do you have to grab that balance? Or it's after you've brought it from your head, it's about making it balance. So its drive and its passion, it's got an idea in its head underlying, and its drive and its passion is to make that balanced in our reality. And then of course its actual placement in January, its drive and its passion is in Sagittarius. So it's like combining the two. Underlyingly, it's got this vision in its head, and it's ready to bring that out, and it's ready to make sure balance of what it's got in its head is going to happen in our reality. And then as the actual coin, naturally it's showing us that direction on how it's going to bring that out its head and bring it out. So I love how this syncs together. Moving now on to Jupiter. So this is an area where we naturally expand in. Now, this is just expansion. It doesn't mean it's, people often say it's a luminary of luck. It's a luminary of luck. Oh, also, forgive me, Mars looks very fiery in the sky, and its opposite is Venus, and Venus is the brightest, most beautifulest luminary in the sky. They are opposites. Mercury doesn't have an opposite. It could kind of be Pluto, but it kind of stands by itself as a messenger. So going back to Jupiter now, Jupiter expands. It's not just good luck or anything. It just expands in either direction. So if you are spiraling down, it will expand you in your spiral down. If you are spiraling up, it will expand you in your spiral up. So Jupiter, we can see it is in Sagittarius, but it's kind of like on the cusp of Capricorn. So it is on the cusp. So in essence, it's got both of them energies. So what am I seeing here? Naturally, Jupiter, naturally, Bitcoin just expands in the whole Sagittarius energy anyway. It just naturally flourishes, or just expands in showing people another way. Like, it's as simple as that. When it's like a human, I can talk about more possible angles of it, but in essence, it's just about showing people another way. And Bitcoin is naturally expanded in that area. And because it is on the cusp of Capricorn, we've got the Capricorn energies coming in. So naturally, what else did Bitcoin have as Capricorn? It was his Mercury. So the way it communicates and exchanges energy. So quite naturally, it's expanding, or it's picking up energies to be expanded in that area as well, to be expanded in the area to create these foundations, you know. And yeah, so people, of course, who potentially interact with Bitcoin, yeah, it's, you see the oh my life, the hologram, ignore me, got a little distracted. There's a certain individual who's just an NPC who's just placed in my hologram. Oh no, yeah, okay, that's for another TikTok anyway. That's how, what I see here. Bitcoin is just naturally expanded in the area, that focused direction, that higher philosophical point of view where you have to learn about all of this new blockchain technology. So it's expanded in that area, as well as expanded in the area to set, for this to set its solid foundation. I've done a video for the Wolf Above pack, for Wolf Above pack, the Waters Above Wolf pack. Yeah, I've done a video based on crypto and kind of what I see here, and where I'm seeing foundations being set with certain luminary positions. It kind of makes sense how Bitcoin is how it is. So do check out that video. It's coming out soon. Keep an eye on that. But yes, and its underlying one for Jupiter, it is just purely in Sagittarius. So it's further into Sagittarius. So all I'm kind of seeing, it's just more of just naturally, it's more of that. It just naturally expands. There's natural, there can be some luck or bad luck. Because it expands in that area. You had people who took wins, you had people who took losses in a very expansive way, isn't it? So that was the direction, and it's just naturally expanded in that way. And yeah, so moving now on to Saturn. Jupiter in the sky, it's like the second brightest star. Is it? It's not as close to Venus. I thought it was like one of the brightest until I saw Venus. So that's Jupiter. Leo. Saturn. Saturn is in Leo. So what is this telling me? Or rather, it's not in Leo. It's on the cusp of Leo and Virgo. And its underlying one is just Leo. So what is this telling me? Saturn is the furthest luminary that you can see with your visible eye. Its rings represent our hologram in essence. It represents time. So ultimately, Saturn is the structure and discipline, is where you're spending your most time in that moment. So what I'm seeing is Bitcoin is spending most of its time shining confident, like the lion, like the Leo lion, just shining confident. And that 100% is what Bitcoin is doing. Like, I definitely see that. And in terms of obviously how it's going to spend its time too, we've got some of these Virgo qualities coming up. And again, I find it interesting how this sinks in, because on its underlaying placements, Virgo is its sun, Virgo is its sun. So basically, I'm seeing the way how Bitcoin is spending its time in our reality. And even when we probably interact with Bitcoin, probably not so much, or that our interaction will obviously depend on our own placements. But the way how Bitcoin is spending its time, it just shines. It's just shining, and it's just doing it confidently, and it's actually coming from the heart center. So that's how Bitcoin is sharing its or spending its time here right now. So it's coming from a genuine place, Leo, and it's just shining, and it's just doing its thing. And we've also got Virgo qualities coming in. So in shining, Bitcoin is spending its time as well, beginning to, as it's touching in there, to think things through. So during Bitcoin's time right now, there's a lot of thought happening, which again, it makes sense that Saturn's there, the one that gives the structure, the discipline, because Bitcoin's the one leading the way, So like, of course, it needs Virgo decisiveness, looking at every single detail so it knows how to operate. Like, them energies do need to come in, because it is the one to, it's been leading the way until XRP overthrows, Bitcoin, if that's the story. Yeah, so that is Saturn. Now, the luminaries we're going to touch on now, these are pretty much the same apart from Fortuna. So the rest of these, except one, are the same as its inception, when it was the first thought of back in October 2009, 2008, 31st of October. From this point on, okay, it was just like the first ones that had changed. It's only Fortuna that is different from this point on. Now, as I said, Saturn represented all of the luminaries you can see with your visible eye. So that represents more of actual and practical physical impact within our material reality. So it's more noticeable. So for example, that Bitcoin literally just shines like a king. It does it, and that is blatant in our reality. You can clearly see as well that Bitcoin is showing you a different direction. So that's very clear in our reality. Now, the further luminaries are more internal. So they represent more of what is externally shown. These are internal now as we move on to Uranus. So your anus, it's in Aquarius, and it's kind of on the cusp of, it's a cusp one, but I'll say it's definitely a bit closer to Aquarius than Pisces. So Uranus, I've mentioned this before, it does have plutonic influences because it's linked to, is it 94, which is plutonium on the periodic table. It's definitely linked to plutonium, but I can't remember if it's 94 or 96 or 95, I can't remember. Anyway, so it's known as the father of electricity. It can bring about sudden change, like, whoa, electric change. So it's actually quite happy in Aquarius. It's happy there, being at home. So this basically can bring about the most change in your life. It can be a sudden change, etc., etc. So the way Bitcoin can bring about change, essentially this electric change, the way it needs to operate to activate the electricity, which will change the cells, you know. I'm really kind of breaking down my brain to see how our whole realm functions on an atomic level, but that's for another video. I'm seeing the way it can bring about sudden change is literally being Aquarius in nature. It is about being innovative. It's about being unique. It's about giving to actually help people. And it's all of these stuff can bring about sudden change for Bitcoin. And I generally feel it's not even reached that yet. Personally, it's not reached that yet, like where Bitcoin is ready to go. When I say ready, not like this year, but in the long term where it's ready to go, it's just not even, I don't think it's Uranus is activated. Let me put it like that. That electric change, like we've had glimpses where it's transformed many people's lives, but it's ready to do, it's literally coded to transform people's lives here. And I just don't feel it's activated yet. So check out that video I was talking about for when I spoke about crypto for the waters above community, because I'll speak about the long-term, short-term and medium-term kind of goals I'm seeing crypto reach by only focusing on three luminaries, that being Saturn, Pluto and Lilith. So do check that out if you're into crypto. Right, its underlying one, Uranus, is exactly the same. Okay, so it's the same ones underlying. We're moving on to Neptune now. So Neptune, as you can see, is in Capricorn. Capricorn, probably some Aquarius energies too. So Neptune is the area where you have the most depth in, where you could achieve your goals this way. So we all have a goals, visions in our head, for example, and Neptune being like, you know, it's known as the dreamy one. It's known as like, it's like Neptune is like Poseidon's trident, isn't it? So it's very spiritual in nature. It recognizes and sees the connection to all and everything. So it is very spiritual, high in intuition and high in dreams and visionary. So it's kind of like that vision, that dream that you see in your head. And so long as you tap into them depths, you can make your dream a reality. So what am I seeing here now? It's sat in Capricorn again, under the arm of like Aquarius. So it's got a little bit of the Aquarian energies surrounding it, or that is it's attracting anyway. So the way I'm seeing Bitcoin can reach its dream potential, like it's got a vision in its head. Only Bitcoin or the makers of Bitcoin will know this. It's got a vision in its head, and the way it can reach this dream and make that dream a reality is by focusing on how it can set up solid foundations. You see, how it can set up solid foundations with the Capricorn energy, that sturdy stability, that sturdiness. How can it set up that foundation? And in doing so, that's how it will achieve its dreams, by focusing on setting up its foundation and being the one to lead the way. And in setting up them foundations and focusing on that structure. You've also got the Aquarius energy peeping in too, and it's like, so long as it focuses too on how it would like to be unique and give of itself, essentially, as long as it focuses on that too, whatever dream, whatever idea the makers had behind it, then yeah, focus on giving, you'll reach your dream. Basically, Bitcoin, you will reach your dream. So that again is the same. That's the same as its underlying one. Pluto. Okay. Oh, Uranus is masculine, Neptune is feminine, and those two are the opposites. And now the last one that doesn't have an opposite is Pluto. It's also known as a messenger, but from like the god of the underworld. Yes, Pluto's only desire is to give you what you want. It wants to turn you into the version you see yourself becoming. It's known as it's kind of like an energy exchange because it is also a messenger, but rather death. For something to exist, another has to fade away. So that is more of Pluto's energy. It's death and rebirth. You've got a version you see yourself becoming. In order to get to that version, a lot has to die. So that is Pluto. So Pluto, as you can see, it's sat in Sagittarius. So basically the way Bitcoin will transform itself to literally become that version that the society is ready for it to be, is literally through attracting experiences to it that is Sagittarius in nature. So basically it's attracting experience that will show you a focused direction, that will transform Bitcoin. It's idea of travel, because it talks a lot about, oh, if you're in whichever country, there's certain countries that have Bitcoin and Bitcoin mining and blah blah blah. There's travel in there too. Understanding, learning about it all, that is how Bitcoin will become what it needs to become. Is all of this Sagittarius energy. And as I says, the sun naturally is a Sagittarius, so naturally he attracts these experiences to which will allow transformation, so it can actually become what it wants to become that one that is giving, with Venus in Aquarius. And was Venus in Aquarius? I can remember. Yeah, with Venus in Aquarius, so it is about that giving nature, these unique ideas with this focused direction. And it's like, if Bitcoin is, so long say it leads the way, has this focused direction, as long as say you understand it and learn about it from, when I say philosophical, that's just because it's the term of, what they call it, but just so you study it, you know what I mean, and know what it's about, blockchain technology and all that stuff. This is how Bitcoin will transform and literally just become the best motherfucker ever, because it's just like, yeah, so long as it knows I'm going in this direction and that's it, that's all it really needs to focus on, and it will transform. So moving now on to Black Moon Lilith being in Pisces. So Black Moon Lilith, it is again the same for both dates, but Black Moon Lilith represents our suppressed aspects of ourselves, as I've literally just saw a black cat walk across, but it represents our suppressed aspects of ourselves, because the mythology story, in short, she was Adam's first wife. She kind of just says, fuck this shit, grew her wings and flew away. Don't quote me on it, more happened in the story, but that essentially is it. So it does represent our suppressed aspects in ourselves, but what we're also passionate about. It also tells me that we may get external influences which could cause to feel suppressed in that area. And ultimately this is one of our strengths. So it's about breaking through where we feel suppressed and using that as our support instead of it being a resistance for us. So Black Moon Lilith anyway being in Pisces. So what I'm seeing here, it kind of confirms where I said Bitcoin's moon being in Pisces. So it's probably heavily misunderstood from the masses. Like, I know that though I feel late, I know that I'm super early into crypto. I'm super early, but I feel late. So basically, you've got all the people who haven't got a clue about Bitcoin, have never heard of it. This kind of confirms to me its moon placement. As you can see, the moon, was it a half moon? That's interesting too. Balance. It seems very balanced, Bitcoin, because the moon's anyway. So it may be pretty much understood, and ultimately, like, and how it probably attempted to come out in the world. Just trying to think of Bitcoin's story. It was heavily understood. People didn't really know what it was. Just like, oh, what's this? Thinking of it, like, I remember it more noticeably in like 2012. That's where I was in college. I was like, oh, Bitcoin. But again, it's heavily misunderstood. I didn't understand it at the time. I wasn't activated, you see. But I'm seeing that this Lilith placement here is just telling me that naturally, even from the exterior world, it's just not really going to be understood. And the exterior world, you're going to have people pushing it down and people pushing it up, and we can clearly see that that is happening anyway. But yeah, people generally just won't understand Bitcoin for the most part. They just won't get it. And I feel Bitcoin just needs to, Bitcoin, you hear me? Listen, boy, you just need to use this and turn that resistance into your support. So it doesn't matter if anyone doesn't know. It really doesn't matter, because you're showing a new way anyway, so people won't understand. And again, it all fits and resonates because Bitcoin is showing a new, different way. Naturally, within the holographic coding of our reality, people just won't see it straight away. So that is Black Moon Lilith. Let's take a look at its fortune. Fortuna. So, and the Saturn Capricorn. So Fortune represents his in mainstream astrology is called Fortune, but here it's Fortuna. I resonate more with it being like A, because that's more feminine than E. E is masculine, and kind of like, because it brings about fortune and prosperity, it's the nurturing element, isn't it? It's the thing that kind of grows it, nurtures it, so it brings about fortune and prosperity. But that's Fortuna anyway. It brings about fortune and prosperity in this area of life for you. So it's sat in Capricorn. So again, as you can see, and I'm pasting, sorry if you can hear me walking, I'm pacing up and down. But as you can see, Bitcoin will bring about fortune and prosperity to it, so long say it focuses on creating solid foundations and having that stability and just going and keep going like the goat. Okay, that is what I'm seeing Bitcoin will be fortunate in. And again, it makes sense. Bitcoin is the one showing the way. It has to create this foundation, this structure and support for the rest of the crypto market to follow it. So Bitcoin's not doing no light thing, it's not doing the lightest thing at all. So again, it just makes sense. So long as Bitcoin's doing its thing and is creating that structure, that foundation for the rest of the altcoins to follow, it's going to be prosperous. It's very Sagittarius, new direction, but still setting that foundation type of vibes here with Bitcoin. Right. That again is the same on its 2008 date. Moving now on to Chrion. So Chrion is known as the wounded soldier, and it is the wounded aspect for us. You have to type in 95p for it to come up on Stellarium. But there we go. Chiron is in Aquarius. So Chiron represents the wounded aspect of us. It's known as like the wounded soldier. It's known as the area that needs healing. But I never see anyone as, oh, you need to heal, you need to change who you are. But rather, it's about, because depending on your point of view, this is about you've either been hurt in a past life in this area. So that's why it's a wound, or an earlier stage in your current life. So it depends on your point of view, you know. So essentially, I don't see you need healing, but rather it's, I need to accept that this is who I am regardless. You know what I mean? Like, it really does not matter. This is who I am. So I feel that that's what it is, and this is the Aquarius nature. So what else did we have in Aquarius? We had Venus and Uranus, isn't it? So obviously, when it comes about that electric change with Uranus being there, which will bring about, whoa, the Chiron is a wound there. So that this is where it could be a little bit slower to bring about this electric change, or this, you know, we know what Bitcoin's journey has done so far, if you've followed it anyway, if you've followed it. And of course, when it comes to how it would like to experience its reality through this Aquarius, through where its Venus placement is, again, there's a wounded aspect. So in order for it to bring about its electric change, where Uranus is, was Uranus? Was there somewhere, wasn't it? This electric change, in order to fully experience its physical reality, how it would like to, what it finds as valuable, which is in improving the physical five senses, isn't it? It's about improving it in a way that's Aquarius in nature. So it's about giving and all of that. It's like it's got some resistance to just break through with Chiron being here, basically. But I feel it's just reaching this point again. If you're a human, it's just like about you knowing that, no, this is who I am, and I'm using this as my strength. I'm using it as my strength because this is who I am. So I say it is. I saw me go. I say it is. So it's about reaching that point. But obviously, because it's a cryptocurrency, it's more or less about the collective recognizing fully, like, whoa, Bitcoin is going to bring about change. You know what I mean? It is, you've got Uranus there. It just has to accept this as a fact, because that's what it's here to do, with its wounded soldier being here. And this is literally how it values its material reality. It's through that giving nature. It's through bringing sudden change to many people and overflowing them with water. Pour me the water. Pour it to me. Yeah, so that's what I'm seeing there. Oh, Fortune actually in the other one was just closer to Sagittarius. So again, it's a lot of that Sag and Capricorn energy. So underlyingly, it's fortunate in showing people a new direction, a focused direction, a clear focused direction, where you'd have to learn about it. It's going to be fortunate and bring about prosperity in doing that. It's doing it. And of course, the Capricorn energy. Forgive me, I forgot to mention the other one. But with Chiron, it's the same. When it was thought of in 2019, 2008 to 2009. So take a deep breath. We're going to move now onto its rising sign. If you look on the screenshot, you'll see what the rising sign was anyway. But to do this, we just put on the landscape, and then we take a look at the sign that's rising at that time. Yes, and what can you see? We've got Pisces. So it's Pisces rising, and I did want to share with you, if you look back at the screenshot that I shown you at the beginning, on its original inception, back in 28, it would have been an Ophiuchus rising. So I've just kept it at like 12 and kept it there, as you can see. Just because that's just a standard time, midday, when you don't know the exact time for like a company. So yeah, I got Pisces and Ophiuchus anyway. So the rising sign, the rising is the coat that you put on, and it's what you're learning to be. So you naturally shine and attract things to you with your sun, your ego, but we are learning to be our rising sign. So what I saw here for me is that Bitcoin itself is learning the Pisces elements. Like me and Bitcoin have the same rising and moon, being the Pisces, and I've leaned more towards a Pisces rising because the moon is there too. So yeah, and as well as it's 12 o'clock because I say go. But basically, Bitcoin is learning to be this Pisces vibe. It's just learning to be this Pisces vibe, this Pisces vibe. Oh my days. This Pisces, the NPC just frightened me. But anyway, the Pisces vibe, I'm not saying it to be disrespectful, but I've looked in his eyes and there's no one home. But anyway, it's learning to be this Pisces vibes, and also on its underlayingness, it's learning to be Ophiuchus. Some people pronounce it Ophiuchus, but I like Ophiuchus better. So on its underlying one, it's kind of like learning the codes of this Ophiuchus energy. It's literally learning to, it's living out its code initially because it's learning to help transform people, literally to change and regenerate and to transform their energy on its underlying basis. And as it's doing that, it's also learning to be everything. You see, because it's like it's setting these new foundations and showing this new way, it's like it's presenting itself to the world, the coat it puts on, as, yo, I'm the top don and I know exactly what I'm doing, fam, because I've already done this. It's like that's the vibe I'm getting. Like that it has to learn to do. So yeah, it's like it's got all the coding to show you the next direction. It's naturally shining in that way. It wants to set foundations in a way, and when that foundation is set, it wants to bring about this electric change. And we've also got quite a bit of Virgo energy in there of making sure it's taking its time to do its right thing. So yeah, we will end that there. I hope that this brought anything to you. I don't know. I hope it was insightful. As I said, if you would like a reading similar in nature, of course, people's readings, there's not two dates, it's just the one. But if you would like your birth reading, not like it's only birth readings I don't like do like a reading for now, but if you would like your birth chart reading, as I said, it is this in this similar format. It's currently 50% off until the end of summer, so do reach out for me if you'd like that. Check me out, as I said, online. Oh, where am I? Oh no, wrong YouTube. Oh gosh. Yeah, check me out here. Oh, last point, which I've forgotten. It's birth cards. So I didn't add this in XRPs, so maybe I'll do a short and I'll add it. But I would like to show you its birth cards. Okay, know your destiny cards. So on its original birth date, the 31st of October 2008, is the Four of Hearts, as you can see. Just take a quick look at this. So here we have the first four in the deck. The first to seek stability and foundation. So the Four of Hearts seeks this in relationships. These people have high ideals about love and family, etc., etc., etc. Do pause it. Give it a read if you'd like. So they are very good with money and have no one but themselves to blame if their lives aren't, happy. So what I kind of want to pick out, because I do want to finish soon, but I want to go to the other date as well, is stability, foundation, and money, essentially. So initially it's like it was born and thought of on that day because naturally it's coded in to bring about stability, foundational stability. And have we not saw all of that with all the Capricorn energy in its chart? Like it aligns. And then we're moving to the Jack of Spades, because the Jack of Spades is its birth card for the 3rd of January. So as you can see, January the 3rd. So through an excess of mental power and creativity, the Jack of Spades can either become a visionary or a thief. So, there's no doubt about their creative power and their ability to put anything with their minds. They can have easy wins, etc., etc. People always do well with the public and can become successful artists. They often inherit money. So, again, pause, have a read, go to this website. It's called Know Your Destiny Cards. But for me, it all aligns. Of course, grab your calendar, people, as I finish off. It's on Etsy. But it does all align for me because it has the four, and it has like the Jack of Spades energy. So it's like naturally, it has the natural mental power. That's the Sagittarius energy, being philosophical in nature. It has that. Sagittarius is very free spirited in nature. So it's like it can easily just attract stuff to it. Money, for one, is like literally within its code. Then on its original inception, you've got stability, Capricorn energy. So I am going to leave that there. Thank you so much if you stuck around to the end of this. If it did resonate, if it did make sense, if it was interesting, do let me know. I'd appreciate any and all feedback. Check me out on socials, on my YouTube. Grab a calendar if you wish, because the calendar is in alignment with the visible sky. Because as I says, the visible sky just it paints a different picture to mainstream astrology. But yeah, with that being said, I really appreciate you, and I'll catch you in my next video. Angel out. Bye.